Listen,
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
we talk about it every day.
Can't get enough baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
You guessed it. There's nobody I'd rather have on the podcast than Amiel Sawdaye. Fact, assistant general manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Second time he's been on. You know how I know this? I Googled it.
You'd rather have Drake May on right now.
No, I know I wouldn't. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Are you? It's like that. It's like you could have said a million different names. I would have been like, oh no, I'm gonna lie and say yes. No. I would much rather have you on than Drake May.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we should test that out. You should ask Drake May to come on one day and see if he'll trump my spot.
No, he would actually be interesting because he played baseball, but yeah, I don't know. The youth, young athletes of today, they're so guarded, and this is where I like the ones who aren't. You guys actually have some good talkers, I feel like, right?
Put him on.
I've never. It's almost like you guys have some sort of bet that I'm not going to have Perdomo on the podcast, because every time I see you guys, you're like, "Have you had Perdomo on the podcast? You should put Perdomo on the podcast."
Mookie had him on.
I know. Well, yeah. I mean, and here's the thing: I don't even make you wear sunglasses. Like, it's true.
It is true.
I saw Mookie actually it was in Philadelphia, just in passing. He was talking about the podcast. It's pretty interesting. It's in synopsis. It's podcasting. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. And I do it every day.
Yeah.
I know that because you are an avid consumer of the Baseballs and Boring brand. You want a hat? You like hats?
You know what? I have enough stickers. I just put them on my hat.
Yeah, I think I asked you. If you're a hat anyway. Yeah. Well, you know who? There's someone riding the sticker train right now. Who openly asked for stickers through this postseason run?
Who's that?
I'll give you a hint. He works for the Dodgers.
I know a lot of people that work for the Dodgers.
Okay. All right. Well, he usually keeps a low profile unless he wants to stand around and talk during BP. Galen Carr.
I was going to say Galen.
Galen Carr. What he went on the run, just much like the Arizona Diamondbacks know the magic that lie within the stickers. Galen Carr used those stickers all the way to celebrating at the Yankee Stadium field last year. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations to you guys as well. It'll happen next year. Magic will seep into your bones. So let's go. I'm very optimistic. I'm pitching.
Ever since I put the Baseball is Boring sticker on my water bottle, we haven't gotten to the playoffs. So there's a good chance I'm ripping that off next year.
I mean, in fairness, when did you do that? With a couple of weeks left in September, right?
No, probably in the world. I don't even know. Maybe after the World Series.
All I know is that you guys made a run. You've made a couple good runs at it. I feel the magic coming. Anyway, all right. Okay, let's get to it. There's a few things I want to ask you. Who you didn't even tell me this. What a magical 2025 this has been. You were awarded the Distinguished Alumni Award by Pikesville High School. Really, nothing mattered after that.
That's right. It was the beginning of April, and I could chalk the whole year up. I was the distinguished alumni in Pikesville High School. Although when you look up at the board, I don't belong there. I mean, there are people that were like Nobel Peace Prize winners.
Really?
Oh yeah, like really a lot of very smart people, Hollywood producers. Like, I mean, there's an oncologist who's kind of one of the leading researchers in cancer research, and then me. So I'm not sure I belong there.
There's only one of those people who have a baseballs and boring sticker on their water bottle or their
That's
computer.
right.
Well, congratulations for that. And sincerely, I know that you guys had to bob and weave your way through this year. A lot of things, injuries and everything else, but congratulations to a year. And I say this like, and as I'm saying this, I can feel Mike Hazen like, like basically like he's almost going to appear on this podcast out of nowhere, and he'd be like, "Shut the f up." Right?
Well, if you did this with him on the call right now, he'd probably just click leave meeting.
He would, absolutely would. But anyway, I'm here to build up, not tear down. So I do want to ask you about this time of year for you guys. Like, so you're obviously the next thing when the World Series ends. It's like when you have to spring into action. What's it like now? Do you actually? I mean, you have one eye on the World Series, obviously. But how busy are you leading into the GM meetings, leading into all these decisions that have to be made? Obviously, qualifying offers, contracts being tendered, all of that. What is it like for you right now?
Yeah, it's actually incredibly busy. Um, you don't realize how busy it can get. I mean, we obviously ended the season not where we wanted to be, so didn't make a ton of plans in October as far as where to travel or what to do. But I went right away, probably a few days afterwards. I went down to Dominican, spent some time. We built a new academy down there. Wasn't able to get down there during the season, so there's a little bit of kind of taking some of the trips that you haven't you might have neglected during the year. So I spent about 3 or 4 days there, and then we have a bunch of planning meetings. We have a meeting. We have actually some amateur scouting meetings coming up this week for 3 days. We've had some off-season planning meetings with our front office this past week. We have an ownership meeting at the end of the week. So there's a lot of kind of getting ready and getting prepared for when the World Series ends, and whether it's free agents or trades or some of the guys that maybe you're trying to hold on to that were on your team, minor league free agents. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. And so we're trying to tackle everything at once, in addition to trying to prepare for, let's just say, I mean, it seems very far away, but for the amateur scouting season for next year. And, we try to bring our scouts in fall league and get a chance to kind of run around Arizona and see some of that too. So there's a lot going on. I think the biggest difference between now and a month ago is that it's not as time consuming, so to speak. You're good during the regular season. You're not getting home till 10, 11 o'clock. You have games to watch every night, and I think it's just more consolidating everything in a day during the regular work hours. And then also trying to, we have staff contracts and everything that we're trying to keep everybody here, and a lot of conversation. So it is incredibly busy, but not the same busy as you would have during the regular season.
So all that seems like a lot. All of that, do you look back at a couple of years ago? I'm like, how in the world did we function? Why trying to win a World Series? Why going all the way to the end of October?
It's crazy. I mean, I think like one of the challenges with, I mean, just in and of it, in like one of the most important things we do is to have conversation, whether it's like developmental conversation or contract conversation with our own internal people. And as you probably know, most of the people in baseball, their work cycle is November 1st through October 31st. And so, we are having a lot of those conversations while we're in the playoffs or while we're in the World Series. And it becomes very challenging to find time to do that, but it's very important because it's each person's livelihood and their development. And you don't want to you don't want to kind of just keep pushing it back. So that's actually one of the biggest challenges I think teams that play deep into October run into, is just trying to, and you get a lot of guys done, a lot of scouts or coaches done in September, but there's a group of, whether it's major league coaches or front office staff or more player development staff sometimes, that seep into October too. And September, when you're in a playoff run, is really busy because you're advancing and doing a lot of things to prepare to get in.
So you mentioned a word that I wasn't even going to bring up, but I am curious. Scouts. Where do you think it's going with scouts? I know that's a big, broad question, and I know that different organizations are all over the place with it. And I know that we go back to Moneyball when that was released. The everyone taking sides, but whether it's because of AI, but whatever it is, like where do you think it's going with scouts?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it depends who you ask. I mean, I still like I don't. I would have a hard time understanding how, when you can get multiple pieces of information, you don't want to use, the subjective view, the objective view, I think, and trying to marry it. So for me, like, yeah, I do think it's still very important. I think it's extremely important when you talk about the international and the amateur world, for sure, where you're getting, the information and the data you're getting is not as reliable as maybe in the major leagues or in the pro world. But I think it's important across all realms. I think it's, I value, I mean, obviously I came up in a scouting department. I value those resources. I value somebody's opinion. Obviously we layer in a lot of objective data, and we want, and especially scouts that are willing to conform, that understand that, 20 years ago, when you didn't have this data, you probably leaned on somebody's just one look or two looks at a player, more so than maybe you would do now, where you are able to track a lot of the data. And I say this all the time. It's like, if Branch Rickey had all this information, he would have used it. Like, they just didn't have it. And I think, like, the really smart baseball people would have definitely used it. So, yeah, I mean, I personally don't think scouting's going away. Like, but
It's just changed. I mean, and
it's changed.
it's changed. And also, I think you hit on it. There has to be an acceptance from both sides too. I mean, there just has to be. And that's as you know, I mean, I mentioned Moneyball, but it's amazing that we're talking about the same stuff, where Moneyball comes out and everyone took sides, where the reality was it was somewhere in the middle. It wasn't.
That's right.
And we're still kind of doing that. But I think that, it's honestly, Amiel, in the world of media, it's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. It's, hey, I'm going to write my story. I'm going to write this epic story. Well, okay. Is anyone going to read it? Because no one has an attention span anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah. I also think we've given scouts more tools to and hopefully they use them to help kind of have more accurate or make more informed decisions. And, there is like a level of, we still want your opinion on things, but when you're telling me this guy smokes every ball and the ball's coming off his bat, and it's 94, 95 at your max exit velo, you're probably, depending on what the age is at the where they are, like, you're probably going to say, well, the data doesn't suggest that. I know what your eyes suggest, but maybe the data and in the past we weren't able to kind of use the data we didn't have that data to help, either contradict or support those decisions.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I would imagine obviously even when you scout internationally, like in Dominican Republic or wherever it is, you're playing the same game and you're using analytics and you're using scouting. Japan must be a little bit different, right? I mean, because it is a little bit different. The game is a little bit different. And that's almost why I'm mentioning that is because I almost feel like the eyes on the guy maybe is even more important than maybe any other part of the world you're scouting. Is that stupid or no?
I don't think it's stupid, but I also think we get data from Japan,
No, I
and
know, but you're using a different ball, right?
yep,
Correct? Okay.
yeah,
So that's one. Strike zone's probably different, right? Correct?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I mean, I don't, I think the ball is definitely different, and that probably, to some degree has some, um, has some impact, but we've gotten enough pitchers, not like a ton, but like we definitely have enough pitchers over there. We have enough information. I think we can help correlate, and try to, I guess, adjust from Japanese base MPB baseball to Major League Baseball within, each team has their own proprietary models that can help understand what the data looks like. But yeah, I still think when you're scouting those players, it is important though, like they're very, they play a different brand of baseball. Their swings are a little bit different. Their deliveries are a little bit different. Everybody throws a splitter over there. We come over here and we're in all of the splitters. And there are definitely major stark differences that are hard to sometimes um, interpret in the data. So I think it's a mix. I still think you have to rely a lot on both.
Mm.
Like I have a hard time. Again, like I'm just, maybe I'm a little bit more old to middle
Well, you
school.
are a
Like
distinguished alum, so
I am, but like I just have a hard time not using both pieces. And even when I started in 2000, my first draft was 2003, and we were using, Theo had us using data and information to support all the draft picks that we were, and it was like kind of the change of Moneyball, but it wasn't, but we were still doing both. So
you know what I remember? I remember I probably was around 2005, 2006. There, I remember one scout saying, "Oh, they're making us carry around cameras."
yeah. Yeah, Theo was the first one to do that for sure. They used to say they were like, we're not movie producers.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a big one. Think about that. And now everyone has it on their phone, and you go to a game and there's literally like 20 guys and they're all videoing.
What was it? Well, it was probably like 05, 06, 07, something like that, right? I think. Yeah.
Oh
Anyway.
05, oh 05, oh 05, or oh 06, I think was the first year.
Okay.
I remember some of I used to get them the videos. I used to have to help splice them.
So the scouts, which is a good idea, except scouts operating new technology was probably a trip for you.
Oh man, I had some good stories.
Well, hey, listen, if there was only a place to tell them. All right. Well, again, I didn't really mean to go down that road, but as always, you piqued my interest. How do you get ready? So I asked you how you get ready or what you do now, but how does a front office in your position and even, all of the entire front office get ready for a World Series? Because you did it a couple of years ago. What's that dynamic like as we approach the World Series?
Um, God, it's like such a whirlwind. Things are going so quick, moving so quick. I mean, I think, you have, depending on, how many games you play in the CS, sometimes it could be um such a quick turnaround that you're flying to another city, and then that next day, even though you're dreary-eyed and you're pretty tired, you're getting together for a big advance meeting with the coaching staff and the scouts that are on the road, and obviously all the R&D people, and you're walking through the team you're going to play or the team you might play. And so there's a lot of kind of catching up really quickly. I think obviously the Dodgers, um, being able to kind of get into the World Series in 4 games and having a little bit of kind of a time to breathe. I mean, they don't know who they're playing yet, but it gives them the opportunity to kind of collect their thoughts a little bit. Probably be a little bit easier from a planning perspective. Um, and then it depends on your manager and who you're playing. You try to obviously you're setting up the rotation, setting up the roster. There's a lot of discussion with your manager and your pitching coaches, especially because a lot of it's geared around who you're carrying, what pitchers you might be carrying for that series. So there's a lot of kind of different conversations that you would be having that you certainly might not be having as often during the regular season. But it's a lot to kind of crunch into 2 or 3 days before you play. And then once you play, there's still conversation after the game, but then you just know it's you're talking daily on what that game is going to bring and like the strategy around the game tonight. So
but the front office must be like jacked up. Like it's like I don't know if you have like that one, like you said, you're talking to a lot of people. Then I don't know if you have that one everyone getting in a room moment before, whether it's 2 days before, a day before, whatever. But you guys must be like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, you're jacked up because you got to the World Series.
I know, but that's what I'm talking about. I mean, that's
but
you get to see each other in other meetings, but that meeting is like, okay, guys, like, let's go.
Yeah,
like,
but it's funny because like there's no real there's like the celebration after you win the CS, and then you're just like, all right, like back to business. And there's no you actually don't not in the last 2 years ago when we got there, it's like you don't really have time to take it all in and be like, man, what an amazing season. Like I can't believe we're in the World Series and like we're high-fiving each other. You're not really celebrating the season, because there's still a task at hand, and so you're it's kind of you're focused on business, and you get, I think, after the World Series, whether you win or lose, there's obviously disappointment if you lose, and then you can you take a step back a couple days later and you reflect on the season and you try to focus on a lot of the positives and then the negatives, obviously, and how you have to build your team for the next year, but understanding that you were one of two teams that got to the final game.
So when the champagne is stinging your eyes after the NLCS, you're still thinking about, as your eyes are closed, as you're fighting through the pain, as you're feeling the burn, you're still thinking about, oh man, the Rangers, it's going to be tough.
I think during the celebration, you're not thinking about that. The next day you are.
All right. Okay. I'm thinking about,
you're probably talking to the wrong person. You should talk to the people in the Dodgers. They're more used to getting the World Series than we are.
Usually I do this at the end, but since you reminded me, former Diamondback Anthony Banda, latest to commit to baseball boring isn't.
Oh, wow.
Baseball isn't boring tattoo if they win the World Series.
That's awesome.
You want to jump on that train for next year? Hazen's already in.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm on that train.
Well, I think I already asked you. You said no. That was I never know unless I ask. Anyway, but yeah, my priorities in that situation is picking up the corks off the floor to give away for Christmas presents. What a veteran move that is.
Yeah.
There's no certification for it, but I'm like, you're just gonna have to trust me. This is a cork from the celebration.
Yeah.
You guys were the last team to beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. You know
that? What do you mean? Didn't they lose? They lost. Didn't they lose a game in the wild card series this year?
No. The last team to
beat the Dodgers
in a series.
Yeah. Okay.
In a series. Yeah.
We were.
Congratulations.
I don't even think about that, but yeah, you're right.
Congratulations for that. So the reason, I know this is a cliche broad question, but how difficult was that? How difficult is that? What are the things that you have to do? And I know, before you say it, I know every team is different. I know that Dodgers team is different from this Dodgers team, but still there's the way that Dodgers do things, and you guys play them enough so you know the way they're doing things. What are some of the key things that you have to do in order to beat them?
Yeah, I don't know. They are obviously immensely talented. They're so well run. They're ready for each series. They're generally very deep, as you can see right now with their starting pitching that goes into the bullpen. Even when their bullpen struggled a little bit this year, they're able to take some starters and push them to the pen and create a lot of advantages for themselves. Um, I said this to somebody the other day. I think maybe Tori and I were talking about it. It's hard to get the Dodgers in a 7 game series and win. Like you almost it's you have to take advantage of maybe a 3 game or even a 5 gamer because if you stretch it out to 7, they are just they're such a tough team to play for 7 games and to try to win 4 games from. And it's not that you can't do it. It's just um, they do a lot of things really well. And over 3 games, like anybody knows, you play a weekend series against somebody, you can win 2 of those. Anybody can take 2 or 3 from anybody in baseball. And then 5 games, it's a little bit harder, but we got on that little run and I think after game 2, maybe stunned them a little bit, and then got to Arizona and just kind of rode the momentum. I think 7 games is very hard, and so you got to play really. I mean, I think this is about not just the Dodgers, but any team in the playoffs. You have to play great defense. I think you know every mistake in the playoffs becomes much more. I mean, they're magnified. You look at an error, like a misplay or an error, and the next thing you know, there's 3 or 4 runs. And you and I know, like it's probably every series this year and last year. You can remember the big plays that cost teams runs and games. And a lot of times, what ends up happening is your pitcher ends up throwing more pitches, and he has to come out earlier, and then it pushes the bullpen a little, and it just kind of compounds. And I think you have to play, especially against a team like the Dodgers. You have to pick up the baseball, and you can't walk a lot of players because you can't give anybody free passes. And I think if you play a sound game, you have a chance to beat them. If you make mistakes, it becomes really difficult.
You said they're well run. From your perspective, from like someone who lives that life, what is something that you admire the way that they do it? And again, like, because obviously they spend a lot of money, they have a lot of superstars, they play really well, all of it. But I don't know if from your perspective, from the front office perspective, like they do this really well. Is there anything that jumps to mind?
Well, I think they do a lot of they draft and develop very well. You know, I think there's like this misconception that they just go out and they buy Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, and that's great. And do use their financial superpower to get some of the better players, but those players are it's not a given that you sign a superstar, a high price player, high profile, high price player, that player is going to be good. They're signing a lot of those players, and they're generally pretty good. Now, they certainly have their, like any other team, they're going to have their players that they've signed that haven't been good. But I think the other thing they do is they supplement those guys with the Pajeses of the world. Obviously, when you look down, Miguel Rojas has been a really good player for them for the last 4 or 5 years, and they went out and got him. Um, you know, Muncie's they picked Muncie. I mean, they picked a lot of guys up from on. It's not just they're going out and paying them. They picked these guys up from waivers or small trades. Anthony Bonda is a big part of their system, and they got him I think it was a waiver claim or a small trade. And so they still are operating the way maybe a small market team would try to operate, by being transactional and also claiming guys on waivers and maximizing those guys while getting a lot of high-priced, high-profile players. And they know those are the guys that might carry them. But on any given day, a kind of role player is gonna win the game for them.
Well put. So I appreciate your time. I just got a couple more. Um, the conversely, another team on the other side, Josh Naylor, Gino Suarez. You guys traded them to the Mariners. You've done a lot of deals with Dipoto, another friend of the program. I don't know if he's getting a tattoo or not. We're going to find out in the coming days. Uh, but what was that like? I mean, this is now that we've had some months pass. What was that like dealing with the Mariners, doing those deals? And I know that you had other guys that you traded, Merrill Kelly and everything else, but specifically with Seattle, because this is another thing. Like, how does a team get to this point? They build it. How do they operate? How do they deal with trades? What was that like for you guys?
I mean, we've probably done most of our. I think I can't count the amount of deals we've done with the Mariners, but we've done a lot, and I think the Mariners are um, they're easy to deal with because they're very direct, and they want to get deals done. As we know, Jerry likes to makes I don't say he likes to trade, but he definitely wants to improve his team, and I think he's seeing the fruits of you know, going out and trading prospects or players that may, be secondary type players for them that could be part of our future right now. Um, you know, we can call them and just say, or they can call us and say, hey, would you guys do this? And it's a very fair offer. And I think sometimes that's one of the biggest challenges is that, it's these small baby steps to get to the final stages and different iterations of trades and how um, and how they play out in your kind of own proprietary surplus value calculator and things. And I do think they look at it as we're adding a really good player. We're going to have to give up a really good player, whether we win or lose the trade. That's okay. We want to win. We want to win the year. And we called them on Naylor. I would say maybe 4 or 5 days. We had talked to them for months, but not specifically about making trades, but just they had kind of expressed interest in what they were looking for, a first baseman, and we weren't at that point ready to trade or weren't gonna trade. We were trying to go for it, but when we decided to kind of make those deals, we called them and made an offer, and it was fairly quick. We had a couple other teams that we called back and didn't want to make the trade, didn't want to kind of meet our needs, our demands, or whatever, and so we made the trade. It was fairly quick during that day, but
Yeah.
over a period of time, we had some conversation.
Well, oh man, that must be a good feeling knowing that and I obviously every front office is different, but to say, hey, listen, we value it this way. You want this guy, you get the deal done. How about Suarez? What was that like?
Suarez was probably a little different because Gino was having a great season. Gino is, as you saw the other night. Gino's he's when he's hot, he's about as hot as anybody in baseball. And when he's cold, it can look pretty bad. And he was really hot going into like about mid-July, and then he kind of cooled down a little bit during like coming up to the deadline. And I think there were probably a handful of teams that maybe got scared off a little bit or what. And I don't think his market probably wasn't as it was good, but it wasn't as robust as maybe people would have thought or as maybe was being put out. And so that was we had a small group of teams that had some interest in it. But at the end of the day, it came down to two teams, and the Mariners were the one that we just liked their deal better than when we decided to make that trade. And it is very challenging to have like 5 or 6 guys to trade and then try to trade them all. Like you don't necessarily want to do that at I don't even know what the time would. I think it's like 12:59 for us at 1 p.m. You don't want to do that towards the last few minutes of the deadline. So taking the best deal that we felt like we could get for Gino was important. And Gino's an unbelievable human. He's a great clubhouse guy. He's like, I'm rooting for Gino and for Naylor, um, for the simple fact that I just had a really strong connection with those guys.
The was I actually talked to Hazen. It was sort of fork in the road moment. It's right before the fork in the road moment. And do you remember, was there a game or a time where you guys did actually say, okay, this we're gonna have to do this, or we want to do this, in terms of being sellers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was like a specific game. We swept the Cardinals and we felt pretty good. And then we ended up, and Houston wasn't playing well. Coming into when we played them, they were our next series, and we played Houston, and we got swept by Houston at home, and we laid an egg, and it just really sloppy baseball. It really was demoralizing to some degree. We had we left that period, and we were very much like, this is this up and down season is probably it might be hard to dig out of where we are. And then we went to Pittsburgh, and we played again pretty poorly. Offense didn't really show up, and we had an unbelievable offense, and they didn't show up. And again, another few days of sloppy baseball. We had traded Naylor right before that, and then and I think once we traded Naylor, the kind of writing was on the wall, so to speak. And then we played three of our worst games I've ever seen us play in Detroit. Got swept by Detroit, who again wasn't playing well. And I think once we played that first game in Detroit, I think we were ready to kind of and we had that mindset too, that this team could still perform. I'm not sure we thought we were getting into a playoff run, but this team could still perform, giving some of the young guys like Blaze Alexander and Jordan Lawler and some of the other group of players that we were going to put in. This team could perform if we just give some of the young guys some opportunity and change the dynamic and the fabric of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, when I saw you guys with the Red Sox, and Cora came away from that last, Alex Cora came away, said that team is going to be in it, and we're kind of like, really, like, really, and then you were. So congratulations. So last thing is, I don't want to, as I always ask Mike Hayes in this, and he's always super honest and gives me great detail, but I'm not going to put that pressure on you. What do you need? What are you prioritizing here heading in the off season?
I mean, there's like, you could put the pressure on me all you want. I mean, we need pitching. I mean, we finished bottom 5 in pitching. We're obviously Zach's a free agent. We traded Merrill. Both those guys are I think two of the top starters in baseball. And we have Erod, Fott, and Nelson as our 3 starters, and then after that we got to fill out the rotation. And we took on some injury last year. Corbin Burns got injured. Justin Martinez and Puck were 2 of our probably our biggest leverage guys. They got injured. Kevin Ginkel got injured. So we have a lot of question marks coming into the season in the bullpen. So yeah, we're going to prioritize pitching. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. And not that we don't have other holes to fill, but the pitching is going to be the most important.
All right. It's science and math. That's what we deal with. Hyperbole. I did want to, I take it back, because I wanted to ask you about, I was looking up your last draft, your scouting director. It was 2015, right? Correct?
That is incorrect. I think Rickard was the scouting director on 15, and I was still involved. I was obviously very involved with Mike, but I think my last draft as a director was.
I like at least like a good draft story. I'm trying to find a good draft.
Okay,
story.
Fine. Yeah, no, I was the director.
No. It doesn't matter. I was
involved. Yeah.
No, because I remember you telling. I think last time, and it's all coming back to your excellent appearance last time. You told a great Mookie Betts story, about the pursuit of Mookie. But I just didn't know if you have a good draft story. Give me a good draft story. It could be with the Diamondbacks. It could be with the Red Sox. It could be with anybody. I love a good draft story.
You love a good draft story. I mean, I guess this is a probably maybe not as much of a recruitment as anything else, but we drafted Corbin Carroll, who, as you probably know, is as strong and as powerful as anybody in baseball, and he's 5'8", 5'9", and super twitchy. And I think Corbin, if he had played in almost any other state, might have gone a little bit higher. But playing in the Northwest, it was very difficult for teams to see him take BP. I think he only took BP with Wood twice. He played at Lakeside Lakeside High School, which is like Paul Allen went to school there. Very it was an unbelievably academic school. But anyways, he
It's the Pikesville High School of the Northwest.
it's the Pikesville High School. But anyways, so we I think some of the questions that allowed Corbin to get to our pick were probably more geared around his power. And we felt pretty comfortable with it. We had seen him this previous summer. We loved the makeup, and we drafted him. We bring him up to Arizona after just to kind of work out after his after the draft. And I introduce him to Tori, and I bring Tori out. We're watching BP, and he's like, "What kind of power does this kid have?" And I said, he's got pretty good power. I mean, I don't honestly. I didn't know the type. I really didn't think he had the type of power he has now. And the first ball he hits, he puts just to the right of the batter's eye. We have this kind of catwalk in between the batter's eye and the pool, and it's probably like 430 up there, right? He hits a 2-iron. That's like a line drive that just keeps on going, and that's the first ball he hits. And Tori looks at me and he's like, This kid has that power. And I was like, I'd never seen that. So that was he always tells that story. He tells that story to every kid that comes in. The first ball, hey, just so you know, the first ball Corbin Carroll had put up there. So
See, your instincts are keen. Your instincts have always been keen. So
I certainly couldn't have told him that he had that power. So
but listen, it's always good to undersell and overdeliver. I mean, well, hey, listen, I appreciate it. I hope your family's well. I hope you have a great Halloween. I don't know what you're dressing up as.
Oh, I'll send you pictures once.
Really?
Once I get in costume.
You know who's a friend of one of our family members? Reese Green is the guy who dressed up as Randy Johnson in the Arizona Diamondbacks with the seagull. His girlfriend is a seagull.
Oh, wow.
You remember that?
I'm not going to be doing that.
No, you have to be very secure in relationship. But hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Rob.